Shalom, fam. This is Or Ibri, author of Making Your Enemy Your Footstool, investor and consultant. And I want to come to you with a video today about fatherhood. For those of y'all who are following me on my Instagram page, you know this week is the week for learning your learning styles. It's knowledge of self through knowing your learning styles. But I want to veer off path just a little bit with this message. Just as I was, helping my son with something, this, is something that came to me. So, for the fathers, I need you all to understand the importance in your role, especially in your children's life, and your children, your daughters and your sons. Your presence is important for both of them. It is very, very, very important that you operate in your role as a father. Our children need us. Now, first off, I know circumstances are what circumstances are, and some people are in certain circumstances, and I'm not here to toot my nose at anybody, because not all of my circumstances with all of my children are in the ideal state right now. Only thing I can tell you is do what you can until you can do what you must. Especially in the society that we live in, this system, court systems, they drag their feet, they move slow. Sometimes they are showing favor to the other parent. It's a lot of different things, so I get it, I understand. But do what you can until you can do what you must. But with all that being said, my oldest son, he's been up here with me for the better part of 5-6 months. And as he's up here with me, there's a lot of things that I'm noticing. It's like, okay, as a father, my job is to guide, direct, discipline, encourage, and help build confidence. And there's a lot of other duties as well. But those are some of the main ones right now. And as a father, you have to realize the confidence that your child gains, 8 to 9 times out of 10 is going to come from you. Majority of children who have a complex, majority of children who suffer with, who suffer with self-esteem, is because their father isn't around. And that's because the father is the one who gives them the strength and the power to believe in themselves. And it's so important that children believe in themselves, because it's things in life that they're gonna have to lean on their own backing. They're gonna lean on their own skill set, and if they don't trust themselves, then they're not gonna be able to achieve their greatest power. And that's where the father comes in at. And I'm noticing this with my oldest son now. I don't claim to be father of the year. I've never been father of the year, especially when my older children were younger. I could have been a lot better father. I could have been a more involved father. But I only can do what I can do now. And so when they were younger, I didn't. I allowed myself to be relegated to a weekend dad, if that. I allowed myself to be relegated to only getting them up for whatever reason. I don't know why. Other than just pure ignorance on my part, I felt like I only could get my kids on the weekends, or I only could get them, on the weekends. Like I couldn't even fathom in my mind making time for them in a week. But then as I began to become more wise and gain more understanding and knowing the importance of my role as a father in their life, I realized, no, I need to have my children more. And I, started getting them more, little by little, piece by piece. Just a little more here, a little more there, a couple of days during the week, then whole weeks, and then months, and more time just spent with them, and then teaching them, not just having them and being in their presence, but teaching them. So as fathers, we have to make sure that we understand, we have to encourage our children, because right now this world is going in this crazy direction, and it can be disguised as man versus woman or whatever. Man, it's like imbalance versus balance. It's like unhealthy versus holism. That's really what it is, and it gets masked as all of these other things, whether it's masculine versus feminine, man versus woman, good versus evil, whatever. At the end of the day, it's imbalance versus balance. And so we have to realize as men what our job is here on this earth, and our job keeps getting degraded and downgraded, and our children are suffering because of it. So as a man, like, you have to exercise that patience. You have to teach your children the things they need to know. And I mean something little, something simple. My son the other day, he was tying the string on his shorts that he was wearing. He had on some basketball shorts. He was tying the string. And so he was struggling with it. And my wife went to jump in to help him. And I was like, no, don't do that. Do not do that. I would rather him sit here, because now, it's one thing if he doesn't know how to do it, then I show him. But he knows how to do it. But it's one thing for a child not to know how to do something. It's another thing for them to know how to do it, and you're just lacking the patience to teach them or to allow them to go through the process of completing a task. So I was like, no, don't do that. Let him get it. Because had she jumped in and did it for him, psychologically what that showed him is that he can't do nothing. He's going to always need help. And that's what we do when we jump in and try to help our children in tasks that they should be able to do themselves. They don't build that confidence in themselves. Like, it starts small. Like, you don't just one day wake up and have this abundance of confidence in yourself. No, it started when you were 1 year old and you were trying to hold your bottle and you weren't holding it right, so your parents just held it for you. And then elevated when you got older and you were trying to tie your shoe and you weren't tying it fast enough, and so your parents just tied it for you. And your homework got too hard and you was failing, so your parents did your homework for you. Like, that's where it starts at. So this whole time we think, oh, we're helping our children, and a lot of times we're hindering our children. A lot of times we're doing more damage to our children than we're helping them by completing tasks for them. Now, if it's something that's unbearable, like, for instance, and this is going to be an extreme example, but if my 7-year-old son is getting into, an altercation with an adult, I'm not going to be like, oh, let him handle himself. No, like, that's why I come in at. But if my 7-year-old son is having issues with children his age, I'm not going to jump in and help him unless he's like getting jumped or something, and then I'm going to go break it up. But if it's him and another kid, like, you're going to have to prove yourself. Like, you either going to win or lose, and then if you lose, then we go back to the drawing board, figure out why you lost, and then you go back in and you try again later on if you're in that circumstance again. But me jumping in, helping him, is only going to make him dependent on me. And then when I'm not around, he's always going to be looking for someone to be dependent on. We have to stop training our children to be so dependent on someone else. Like, yes, it takes a community to be great. Yes, your net worth is your network. Yes, all of that is true. However, there's still a level of work you have to do yourself before someone else can come in and assist you. And if your thought process is the first thing you do is look for somebody else to do your work for you or to assist you before you assist yourself, that's where the problem comes in at. And that's how we have to stop raising our children like that. And men, that starts with you. Like, you have to be the superseding power in the child's life and saying, no, this is how we're going to do things. This is how this is going to get done. And encouraging your child, building your child up, pouring into your child, and just allowing him to have that self-confidence. That's where you come in at as a father. That's where you come in at as a man. You have to help your children build themselves up. So you have to allow them to complete tasks. Put them in circumstances to where they have to figure things out. It's like, we just went to the park and we come back from the park. I told my son, hey, I need you to get all the grocery bags out of the back of the trunk. And some of the bags were underneath this little sister stroller, all this and that. Now, I could have helped him. I could have lifted the bag. But I wanted him to problem solve. I wanted him to figure out, how can I get these bags from entangled out of this stroller and get these bags. And guess what? It took 5 minutes, but he got it done. And every time I let him do something, what happens is he builds confidence in himself to know, I can do this. I can do something. But if I jump in and, oh, let me lift this up for you, and people, oh, I'm showing them how to do it. You show them how to do it, but if it's a task that they know how to do, allow them to do it. Have patience. Exercise patience in yourself to allow your children to grow, because your impatience will stifle your child's growth, will stifle your child's development. And we have to realize that. So as men, pour into our children, allow our children to go through difficulties to build up their self-confidence. Teach our children how to have confidence. Teach our children how to do for self. And teach our children how to be the highest versions of themselves. That's our role as fathers. We teach them discipline. Here's the thing, one thing that we have to realize is when it comes to discipline, that voice of discipline in a child's head or in an adult's head that started as a child is supposed to be the father's voice. Like that voice is supposed to be their father's voice in their head. Like, do this, or you can do this, you can't do this. And I'm not talking about like trivial stuff. I'm talking about like true things that are detrimental to your safety, health, well-being, all of that. That voice of discipline is supposed to be the father's voice. Now, a lot of people don't have fathers. A lot of people have very passive fathers. So the voice ends up being another voice that isn't as strong. But that's that voice. So your voice is supposed to stick with your child throughout the entire lifetime. Like, no, my dad told me that was not the right thing to do. Or my dad said, this is how you do this. Or my dad continued to pour this type of teaching into me, which helped me and instilled certain disciplines into me so I can be great. So we have to do that as fathers, and we have to make sure that our children are getting that confidence. Because if we don't give it to them, or I'm sorry, not give it to them, we don't allow them to develop it, what happens is you raise children who become incomplete adults. And those incomplete adults are just stifling and struggling throughout life. And then it's like they're always coming to you. So, yes, we're supposed to help our children even into adulthood. But there's a big difference between assisting and flat out living life for an individual. Adult children, it's certain things, especially at certain ages, you should no longer have to do for your children, especially on a consistent basis. Like your child mismanaging funds and money or things like that, and you got to help them get them $200, $300, $400, $500 every single month for bills, and they're like 28, 30, 35, 40, like that's a problem. Now, if they 18, 19 and they come up short, a couple of months here or there, and they may need a couple $100 or $100, that's one thing. But if they consistently borrow money, there was something wrong in your programming. Even if they weren't paying attention, there was they were missing a discipline. There was a discipline that was missing. So we have to remember that. So as fathers, we have to make sure we're doing our job, teaching our children self-discipline and helping our children build their self-confidence. So I hope this video was edifying. I hope it helped you. And with that, I say peace and shalom. This is Or Ibri.